Here we go. Red reviewed for standard. All right. All will be 5 mana enchantment. Whenever you put one or more counters on permanent or player, all will be 1 deals that much damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls. So opponent, creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls. I don't. Wow, I'm already like, this is impossible to evaluate, I think, because no deck exists in standard that uses counters right now. So it would have to be a new deck, and in that new deck, you would have to be playing a 5-mana enchantment. So you'd need your cards that put counters on things to be static abilities, as in like Halana and Alena. Halana and Alina, I think it's called. I don't remember. But you need something to put counters on something when this enters the battlefield. Otherwise, I think it's really bad. And in that deck, there's no way you're playing all will be one because you don't need it. If those kind of creatures that are putting counters on things are sticking, then you're already winning. Do we get Nissa back? Nope, there's no Nissa. Bolt every time you animate a land. Even that, why would you play it? 5 mana. For 5 mana, you're not playing that. The setup is too high. The setup cost is too high. The only way you're playing this is if somehow you can cheat it out for less mana than 5, but for 5 it's not good. You can storm this out. Storm, what storm? Again, if you can cheat it, which I'm assuming is what storm is, then Chandra ramps 3 to 5 and pings for 2. Well, it doesn't ping for 2. It pings for 2 the next turn. It does not ping for 2 the first turn because you need it pings immediately. So Fable doesn't ping, but ramps 3 to 5. Yeah, but why would you play in a Fable deck? So you want to play in mono red, but what kind of counters are you playing in mono red? Or are you talking about playing in Gruul with Alana and Alena, and then you play Chandra on 3, then you play this, then you play Alana? But why? Oh, Storm the Festival. Okay. Storm the Festival. Okay. Storm the Festival. Aren't there better things to do with Storm the Festival? This with the Teferi that gets a counter every time you draw. All of these are like way no, I appreciate all the suggestions, but I'm saying like even those are not enough from what I'm seeing in chat here. Is not very convincing. But I agree, you can try to set it up. I just don't think that's gonna be good. This I think I'm not thinking about what cards. I'm not thinking about the right cards, but I don't think anyone is thinking about the right cards right now, so I wouldn't say this card's terrible, but it's not efficient. It's not costed efficiently enough for this to be relevant. Like it's way too overcosted, I think. It's pretty easy to shield it from Invoke with Kumano and Fable. Well, not with Kumano. Fable maybe, but I don't think that's relevant. Yeah, it doesn't have ETB. I'm saying like, yeah, this card is Disneyland. Like what? Like if I'm paying the entry fee to Disneyland, I think I'd rather just not, That shit's expensive. Huh? The entry fee is high for this. And I don't think I'm willing to pay. It's a build around, but it's a bad build around. Essentially, is what I'm saying. Because the card itself is not good. It requires insane amount of setup for it to be even remotely good. Because like if you're getting like 1 counter, this pings and deals 1. Do you even care about that for 5? For this to be good, it would have to deal at least 6 total, I think, or 5. I don't know. It would have to deal. I don't think it's about the damage, but I would have to like destroy 2 things maybe. But that setup would take multiple turns. Unless there's a way to set it up where it comes in and then you're putting the counters and stuff immediately when it comes in, and then it destroys something, and then it's good. But how insane would that setup be for this to be like it's standard is not a format with no removal. Like they will remove your stuff that does those things that you want to set up. So too clunky, way too clunky, I think. But I'd be okay with it if I mean I'd be down for it to be good. So I'd be happy to be wrong, I guess, in this case. But it's janky as hell, yeah. How's this a mythic? I don't know. It's just kind of goofy. Alright, Awaken the Sleeper. Let's move on, because that thing is just not worth spending our time on, I think. 4 mana, gain control, it gains haste. Gain control of creature, untap, gains haste, blah blah blah. If it's equipped, you may destroy all equipment attached to that creature. We've had this effect in the past, and it costs 3 before. But this destroys all equipments instead of 1, I think. For an uncommon, this is underwhelming, but in limited, it's going to be good, I guess. 2 mana, 1/3. Enters the battlefield, 2 oil counters. Tap, remove an oil counter, discard, draw. Oh, it's okay. Limited. Or Mirrodin. 2 mana, +1/+1. Oh, +1/-1. Equipment. So it makes a 3/1. So it's a 2 mana 3/1 with equip 1. +1/-1 is so bad. But it comes with a 2/2. That's kind of weird. Like +1/-1 itself. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not better than +1/+1. I feel like, but it can't be +1/+1 because it's making a 2/2. So it's costed correctly for the creature you're getting. It's just the equipment itself is not great. But I guess since it comes with the creature, it's already. Wait, why am I valuing this? This for limited, but I'm saying it's a good limited card essentially. 3 mana, 2/3 menace. Equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Activate abilities of equipment you control that target Blade Graft Aspirin cost 1 less to activate. That's pretty good for limited. Blazing Crescendo, 2 mana, +3/+1 until end of turn. Exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that. Wow, that's insanely limited. What the hell? Cacophony. Scamp? I don't know. 1 red. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, proliferate. When it dies, deals damage equal to its power. Ooh, what is this? What? Capricious Hellraiser. Cacophony. Got it. 6 mana. Yeah, this card costs 3 less if you have 9 or more cards in your graveyard. So potentially 3 mana 4/4. So 6 mana 4/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, exile 3 cards at random from your graveyard. Choose a non-creature, non-land card from among them and copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Wait, you may choose a non-creature, non-land. Okay, so only instant, sorcery, enchantment, artifact, planeswalker. Three red? What? Can replay Fable now? I don't think that's relevant, but sure, it can. It's good with Fable because you can discard. But I mean, the fact that you can't do it is good, yeah. I mean, how do you 3 red? Like, it would have to be in mono red, right? Or is it? Yeah, it could be an is it, but red focused, is it? Like blue splash for a few cards, but you'd have to play all the dual lands. I don't know. It's okay. I don't think it's super good though, because graveyard hate, first of all. Like completely shuts down the card. Like 6 mana, this is not good for 6 mana. And then also it's not an early game spell, so that's also a problem. It's more of like a turn 5 discounted 4/4, which is fine. But no, it's really good on 5, but I'm saying like it doesn't help you early game, so the 3 red is rough. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. But I just think the overall it's very clunky. It's hard to cast. The requirement is not super easy. The randomness of exiling cards from your graveyard is also not great. A lot of things about it are very, very unfortunately costed or written. So yeah, I would not be surprised if this never sees standard play because it's too clunky. Because for 6 mana, it's not great unless you're casting because it's random. Like the problem is it's random. So for 6 mana, adding that randomness for 3, the randomness is okay because you're discounting it so much. But for 6, if you're not getting what you want, it's underwhelming. Especially when we have cards like the 2 mana 2/2 that can for 5 grab a 3 or less, which is usually what you're gonna be grabbing anyways. But can't grab enchantments and artifacts, but yeah. Like most decks would rather play that 2 mana 2/2 haster that can pay 3 when it enters the battlefield. But yeah, I don't know. Chimney Rabble, 4 mana 3/3 haste. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 goblin token. That's really good and limited. Churning Reservoir, 1 mana artifacts. At the beginning of your upkeep, oil counter on target non-token artifacts or creature you control. 2 and tap. Create a 1/1. Activate only if an oil counter was removed from a permanent you controlled this turn, or a permanent with an oil counter was put into graveyard this turn. I have no idea. This is probably terrible, but I can't tell. How are you removing oil counters? Because this doesn't remove oil counters by itself. And the effect is overcosted. I don't know. Well, no, putting an oil counter on things, that's the relevant part, I guess. And that could be relevant. It's like proliferating every turn on something relevant. I don't know. It could be something. It's so cheap that the effect is good for its cost, like really good. I have no idea what it's useful for, but it seems like it could see play. Dragon Wing Glider. 5 mana +2/+2 flying and haste. Oh, I talked about this before. This card's insane. So +2/+2 flying haste equipment, but it comes in with a 2/2 and you attach it to that 2/2. So 5 mana Goldspan Dragon without the Goldspan, basically. So 5 mana 4/4 flying haster. No other text. Equip 5. That's solid. That's really solid. I don't know if that's gonna be. I don't know if solid is good enough for standard though, because it's not like insane. It's just good. And the equip cost is high, so yeah, it's probably not playable in standard. But I don't know. It's such a cool card. I kind of wish it was playable, but really good flavor on it too. Yeah, pretty cool. Exuberant Fusling. 1 mana 0/1 trample, and he gets +1/+0 for each oil counter on it. Well, that's one thing that can synergize with the other 1 mana thing. But +1/+0 is terrible. Should have been +1/+1. When it enters the battlefield or when another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard, put an oil counter on this is terrible. I guess trample is okay, but I still think this is terrible. So it comes in, it's a 1/1, which isn't abysmal. But then stuff has to leave the battlefield. No, stuff has to go to the graveyard from the battlefield just to get upgraded. It's just not. Yeah, I don't know. 3 mana, 3/2. Whenever creature artifact you control is put in a lot of put in the graveyard stuff. Put an oil counter on this creature. Whenever Forge Hammer attacks, remove 2. I can't block that. Whatever. I had a feeling that was gonna be bad. That's why I didn't read it out. +2/+2. Put 2 oil counters on it. Okay. I mean, probably not relevant in standard, but this is like really insane. Holy. The value on this card is very high. But yeah, combat checks are never playable in standard. Well, not these kinds at least. Alright, 3 mana, 3/3 menace. Okay. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Punisher deals 2 damage to that player unless they control 2 or more basic lands. So 3 mana, 3/3 menace, no downside. No downside for you. Upside as well if your opponent is greedy. Shield red for mini shield red for mono red. But the 3-drop slot is too contested, I think. So unfortunate. If this was a 2-drop and it was a 2/2 menace with this effect, that would see play. 5 mana, 4. I'm not gonna read this. 1 mana, destroy artifact, sorcery speed. If you control that artifact, create 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. What? This is kind of interesting, but it doesn't make artifacts though. It makes goblins. Isn't there a planeswalker that can equip equipments? That could be relevant for equipments. This card's weird as hell, but making 3 goblin tokens out of 1 random artifact though is, oh, if it was instant it would be broken as hell, but no, no, they can't make this instant. But interesting. I feel like somehow, somewhere, this will see play, but I don't know where. But I have a feeling. Maybe not in standard, but I don't know. Alright, Blast deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent controls, and they can't block. X Gold Halberd. 3 tokens on turn 1 with the Halberd. Yeah, it's goblins too, it's relevant. Alright, Halberd is a 2 mana for Maraudon, so you make a 2/2 and equip it, and it has first strike and trample as long as it's your turn. 2 mana 2/2 as long as it's your turn, first strike and trample, and equip 3. I mean, that's just really insane and limited, but yeah, that is what it is. Alright, 1 mana, deal 2 damage. If that creature has toxic, deals 4. Is that relevant? Is there? Okay, question. Do we have toxic creatures that are good that have 4 toughness? Or 3, actually. Yeah, 3 would do. Because this might be playable, if that's the case. But so far, that could see play. Yeah. So again, big if, but if the requirements are met, this is pretty good. Like really, really well designed. Okay, Koth, I already talked about this multiple times, but this card sucks. Okay, anyways, 4 mana, 4 loyalty, +2. Search library for basic mountain, reveal it, put in your hand, and shuffle. -3 deals you deal damage to target creature equal to the amount of mountains you control. Whatever, it's just creatures. This does not hit planeswalkers, kind of weak. And -7 whenever mounted enters the battlefield under your control. This emblem deals 4 damage to any target. Damn it, I'm tired. Yeah, this card is probably terrible. Just because the plus is actually terrible. if you really build around this and you have a way of like discarding the mountain to draw a card reliably every time, or reliably get to the emblem and have an absurd amount of card draw, and like you can only play one mountain per turn. Yeah, this every time I start trying to reason why this could be good, I can't. I can't find any reason why this card would be good. The only good thing about it, kind of, is that you can -3+ and then minus again, so you can technically destroy 2 creatures. Maybe. If it doesn't get attacked or doesn't get removed. The plus is so bad. I don't know. 3 mana, 2/3 trample. I don't know why they made a red Planeswalker that's just underwhelming. But maybe they were so sick of printing out the good Chandras. 3 mana, 2/3 trample. Yeah. A Magmatic Spring. I was gonna call it Magmatic Sprinkler, but okay, I'm gonna call it Magmatic Sprinkler. 3 mana, 3/2 haste. Whenever Sprinkler enters the battlefield, put 2 oil counters on target artifact or creature you control at the beginning of your end step. Return Magmatic Sprinkler to its owner's hand unless you remove 2 oil counters from it. So 3 mana. Put 2 oil counters on something. Maybe get 3 damage in or trade. And then it goes back to your hand and you can do it again. Or you can leave it on the battlefield with 0 oil counters. Really interesting, actually. Like, super weird. I mean, 3/2 haste is not great stats, but putting 2 oil counters on something could have like massive upside, so I don't know. And then the fact that you can redo it, it's like a oil counter machine, or it can get a trade, or it can deal 3 damage for free. Ideally, the ideal situation is that you're getting 3 damage in, and then you're bringing it back to your hand, and then you do it again. So I think cards like this have a high chance of seeing play if the deck that uses oil counters is a thing. But right now, we have no way of knowing whether that will be a thing or not. But the card has the power to potentially do something. That's what I'm saying. If you have like some kind of burn aggro deck, mono red, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine. All right, 5 mana, choose one or both. Deal 5 damage, target creature, planeswalker, destroy target equipment. Wow, this is insane limited, but yeah. Sacrifice. Nahir's Sacrifice. Sorcery speed as an additional cost to the spell. Sacrifice an artifact or creature with mana value X. Nahiri's Sacrifice deals X damage. Divide it as you choose among any number of target creatures. I can't. I don't know. This doesn't seem good at all, but every turn needs to remove 2 oil. No, it doesn't. It can go back to your hand. And then you re-put 2 oil again. So it's really like over 2 turns you can get 4 oil, which can be really insane. I don't know. Okay. Oxida Finisher. 7 mana, 7/4 affinity for equipments and trample. A limited card. Okay. RebelSalvo. 3 mana affinity for equipments. RebelSalvo deals 5 to target creature or planeswalker that permanent loses indestructible. Ooh. Now this is a huge push for equipments because this is insane. Like, this is actually insane. They have an answer to Shield Red and indestructible, and it could potentially cost 1 red. But I don't think the equipment deck will be a thing. But if it is, this might be what makes it a thing because this is insane. Like, this is insane in this current format. But the problem is, even if it is insane, Mono Black's getting Devastator, which hard counters this anyways, and then Mono White's getting that 4 mana 5/5. So good luck. But good red removal, like really good red removal, but only for specific archetype, which is kind of disappointing, but better than not having good red removal, I guess. Red Sun's Twilight. I remember this card. The absolute worst. Like worst Twilight. Not even close. All right, 2 red and X sorcery. Destroy up to X target artifacts. If X is 5 or more, for each artifact destroyed this way, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of your next end step. I mean, this is just like actually one of the worst rares I've ever seen. I think like Jesus. This is playable on turn 2. This thing, yeah, sure, but I mean that's not really too relevant. Red Sun's Twilight is a card that I have no idea why they printed it this way or why they designed it this way, why they thought this was good. I could be, it's possible I'm missing something and that's the reason why I think it's so bad. But this is like actually completely trash. I feel like I've seen so many different effects or different cards that destroy all artifacts, X target artifacts that are way better than this. It's actually embarrassing. The condition X equals 5 is like the payoff is non-existent because most artifacts are not creatures. And if they are creatures, then it's insane. But like for 7, if there are enough creatures on the board where this is relevant, aren't you already dead by then? Like what kind of deck would be surviving against multiple artifact creatures where the haste would even matter in the first place? I don't even know. So bad. For commander, I don't know. Yeah, this is just embarrassing. Menace reach 5/5, 5 mana 5. Whoa, that's pretty good. Limited. Rook. Well, like Rook. Hex Gold Naver. What the? What? Who names these cards? 3 mana 2/2 legendary creature. Trample haste. Well, I have a good feeling about this. Whenever an equipped creature, oh no. Creature you control other than Rook Hex Gold attacks or dies, you may unattach all equipments attached to that creature to Rook. You may attach all equipments. Okay. Whenever an equipped creature you control attacks or dies, it's really good support for equipment decks, though. Interesting. And I really love the art and the card itself. I feel like it's funny, so. But legendary creature. So clunky. I wish this had a clause that equips all equipments onto itself immediately. Because right now the condition is too weird. For another creature to attack with those equipments, so you already spent that mana equipping that other creature. It's like it's super weird. So you're not actually saving mana. Well, you kind of are by moving it, but you're also like not really. I don't know. I don't not great. Can move the equipment that gives trample and haste for free. Which one? But either way, it would have to, well, I mean for free, quote unquote, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. The Halberd, yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? The one that equips all auras, is that the 3/2 that brings all auras back from the graveyard? That was playable. But this is, I don't know. I don't like it. I wish it was better. I wish it equipped at least one equipment to itself upon entering the battlefield, so it at least has that extra like little bit of mana efficiency that a deck like that desperately needs. You save mana because the 4 Meridon. Yeah, but you're not only gonna play 4 Meridon stuff, and you're not only gonna have like what if those creatures leave the battle? That's like perfect world, but Magic is not a perfect world. You don't play cards for specific situations. Like their best case scenario. Like it's not reliable in standard at least. If you have no way of setting that up reliably. Sawblade Scamp. 1 mana 1/1 haste whenever you cast a non-creature spell. Put an oil counter on Sawblade Scamp and remove an oil counter, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Wow. Shrapnel Slinger. 2 mana 2/2 artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, destroy target artifacts an opponent controls. Pretty good and limited. Slow and bad. Nice. This is Iron Goblin. Legendary creature. 3 mana 3/2 sacrifice an artifact. Add an amount of red equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. I've already read through this card once, and I still have no idea if this is good or not. I don't really understand the whole adding an amount of mana equal to the sacrifice artifact's mana value, because most expensive artifacts have static abilities, right? It's so hard for me to picture because I don't have the enough knowledge of what artifacts are playable, etc., or even in the format. So unfortunately, I can't evaluate this. It's too narrow in its archetype, and I'm not familiar with it. Ulfim, Mayhem Dominus. 4 mana 5/4. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. There are a lot of 2 mana cantrips fixed, so that you ramp to turn 6. Yeah. Ramp, but ramp in red? Okay. Oh, okay, maybe. But what are you ramping into? I guess this is definitely used as a ramp instead of like a value thing. I don't know. Yeah, maybe in a ramp deck. I'm not viewing this correctly. So this is more of a ramp spell. So artifact ramp deck. Yeah, I can see it maybe actually. Yeah. 3/3 is weak though. 4 mana 5/4. So if a source you control will deal non-combat damage to an opponent or permanent opponent controls, it deals double that damage to a player or permanent instead. And 1 and 2 Phyrexia and red mana, discard 2 cards, put an indestructible counter on Ulfim, Mayhem Dominus. So what was the... I think this is third best. So I think the black one is the worst. For the best is the white, I think. Or the blue. Blue or the white definitely are better than this. I don't know. This card's like clunky because the static is not very relevant in like a traditional aggro deck. So it'd have to be a burn deck. And in that burn deck, it's pretty good. It's definitely good in that burn deck. But is burn gonna be an actual deck? Because this card is very difficult to slot into any deck other than burn, I think. Because if you're not getting used to the static, I don't know why you would be playing a double red 4-drop. Even though the stats are good. I mean, 5/4 indestructible is good, obviously. But with the context of having good removal in the set and this not having haste or any other keyword like trample, it can get chump blocked. And I'm assuming that white is getting much better with the exiles because of the shield counter, the indestructible counters. Red has removal that goes through indestructible counters. Black has exile. Like these cards are losing a lot of value because of the other spells in the set that that go right past the indestructible counter, and discarding 2 cards is a genuine hit to your card advantage as well. And first of all, you would need to have 2 cards in hand to even activate it, which is really awkward. And then you're losing 2 cards, and if they still manage to destroy it or exile it, quote unquote, if they go through that indestructible, you've lost your 2 cards down, and you lost your creature as well. And it doesn't have haste, so if they remove it immediately on their turn after you give it indestructible, you're done. You're out the game. So it's what do I call it? It's restriction. It's cost. The discard 2 cards is the worst by far out of all of them so far. The effect is not that relevant unless you're in burn. So I think in any other deck, it's can be relevant, but not relevant enough. So there could be something, there could be like a whole new deck that I'm not thinking about that would actually want a card like this, but right now, off the decks that are existing and potentially existing in the next format, I can't think of a deck that would actually really want this or that could use this efficiently, because for the most part, it might just be a 5/4 that might double like a random burn spell one time, and then you could discard 2 cards to give indestructible, I guess. I don't know. Just very Need with Cemetery Gatekeeper or Arsonist. Card is better in Alchemy than Standard. Yeah, I'm talking about, yeah, of course I'm talking about just Standard. But I don't know about other formats. What's Gatekeeper? I don't even know what it is. But I guess I'll talk about it when somebody tells me what it is. Throw Possibility, we know what this is. Urabrask Anointer. Oil counter burn deck. Yeah, maybe. I can't even picture that deck, but okay. Anointer, 4 mana, 4/2. It's a Phyrexian wizard artifact creature. So Celestial Gatekeeper is a 3 white bird click. When it dies, return up to 2. No, that's not it, right? Exiles a card and deals 2 each time that type of card is. Oh, the 2/1 first strike. When Cemetery Gatekeeper enters the battlefield, exile a card from a graveyard. Whenever a player plays a land or casts a spell of that type, it deals 2 damage to that player. That's a 2/1 though. I don't know. Yeah, I know what it is now. Yeah. I mean, it's conditional on something being in the graveyard too, and your opponent playing into that. But yeah, you're right. That could be something. That could be an angle to build around. I just can't picture the deck. I'd have to like build it and test it. Anyways, 4 mana 4/2 deals X to any target where X is the amount of permanents you control with oil counters. X to any target where X is the number of permanents. Oh, number of permanents you control with oil counters. So this is not as good as I thought. I thought this dealt damage to any target equal to the amount of oil counters on all permanents you control combined. That would be insane. Okay, that's not it. Forge, 3 mana artifact. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put an oil counter on the forge and then make an X1 Phyrexian red horror creature token with trample and haste, where X is the amount of oil counters on the forge. Okay, with context, I initially thought this card was okay, but it's vulnerable because it's an artifact. That's one problem I really think holds this back because of a Braid and Laurent. But with the context of that 3/2 that can put oil counters on things, this can snowball so fast against certain decks that somehow can't deal with the artifact, I guess. Like you can go bam, and then you get the oil counter on the first combat phase. So you make a 1/1. Next turn, you play that 3/2. Bam, it puts another oil counter on itself naturally. You're at 4 oil counters. You're at 4/1, which is starting to become very relevant on turn 4. And then on turn 5, it's a 5/1, etc. Now you're really snowballing this thing. But yeah. Well, it seems, yeah, the effect is good against control. The permanent is not. That's the problem. This is good against non-white or red control, which could potentially be a thing. If Damir is the thing, if Damir is a thing, they will lose to this. That's all I'm saying. they will lose that. If Damir controls a thing, this will be played in whatever red deck you're playing. There was another effect that cost 1 that added oil. Yes. Yeah, there is. So that could also be a thing. Post-board against Damir, you play that in the 3 mana thing, it's over. If it resolves, it's done. But even just on its own, this will just end the game against Damir by itself. So that's good. At least we have a card that does that, and that's good. Well, is it good though? Because I'm on the side of control players usually, so I don't really want to see cards like this. And there's no way Damir is strong enough for this to actually be warranted. So actually, I don't like it. I don't like that it counters Damir, because I don't think Damir would be too strong anyways. But now it's like, yeah, now we have like a hard counter pretty much. Damir just splash red. Yeah, true. You're right. They would splash red for a Braid. So I'm saying like theoretically, if Damir was a thing, So they have to splash red. So that's unfortunate. That forces your deck building in a direction, which is not great either. Four brothers on main deck. Okay, anyways. Flame Stoker. Flame Stroker. I'll call it Flame Stroker, it's funnier. 1 mana, 1/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on the Flame Stroker. 6 mana, sacrifice Flame Stroker, discard your hand, then draw 4 cards. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each oil counter on the Flame Stroker. So if you can make it cost. So if it costs 1, it's obviously insane. But that is far away from actually being the case, right? Draw 4 is insane. So I don't know. But like too vulnerable, right? Like way too vulnerable. Like 1 mana 1/2 doesn't protect itself. Too situational. Takes too long to get going. Volt Charge. 3 mana, deal 3 to any target, proliferate. Now this is pretty good for control decks, I would say. Interesting because like having instant speed removal that proliferates is pretty important. So maybe that'll just lock Jeskai, maybe, I don't know, or Grixis. Why is it back to Grixis? Because then the problem is if we go back into Grixis, then there's no reason for you to be playing this. So you'd rather just be playing mid-range, right? You'd rather be playing Grixis with Appraiser than Grixis Proliferate, I think. So, but I like it. It's a common, whatever. Volshock Splitter. Yeah, 4 mana. You're making a 4/2 with the 4 Merlin, so you get a 2/2, and the equipment is +2/+0, and equip 3. Alright, so red overall has some good stuff. Let's go through them. I'm just gonna start closing tabs. Yeah, it has some interesting stuff, and I appreciate that. It's got some ramp. It's got some indestructible creatures. It's got some oil counter shenanigans. It's got some good equipment support. It's got some decent overall creatures, I would say. It's got some interesting oil counter setups. I think so far, I don't know. Would I say red was actually better or more exciting than black? I think so. Maybe not actually. I don't know. I think it was close. I think black and red right now are pretty close in my evaluations of like overall playability and stuff. That mythic though is so bad, that all for one thing. Yeah, maybe black is better. So far we got white, black, red, and no. White, black. Is blue worse than red? I think it is. Yeah. White, black. It's blue. I don't know. I don't know if blue was worse. No, I think red has more potential. So blue is definitely the worst, I think, for now. White, black, red, blue, I think. But yeah, red is it's got more interesting things going on. It's just, I mean, the Planeswalker is terrible though. Like that's something that you can't. But so is the blue Planeswalker. Like, but at least the blue Planeswalker is way like Teferi is actually better. Did I miss green? No, we're going to green. But yeah, okay.